Because your body weight can fluctuate 1 to all the way up to 3% every day. So that fluctuation was just probably a normal fluctuation that is a result of, let me give you like a handful of things. Hydration status, okay? What if you consume more liquids because you're in Dubai now and you're compensating for your dehydration? 2, GI contents. If you're consuming more food or less food, you're gonna have more or less food in your gastrointestinal tract. This includes fiber. Fiber draws water into the GI tract. We often consume more fiber in a caloric deficit because it's more satiating. We want to be more satiated when we have less food, right? If you're gonna store more fiber in your GI tract, at least transiently, you're gonna transiently store more water because fiber pulls water in. Number 2, speaking of water, salt. What if you have more salt? Electrolytes also compensate for your dehydration. You're gonna store a lot more water. I could get everybody to drop 1 to even 3 kilos in the next 48 hours by manipulating one or a couple of these things, particularly the next one, carbohydrates. You want to know why the keto people notice such big monumental shifts in body weight in the first 2 weeks of a low carbohydrate ketogenic carnivore diet? Not only because you're removing a lot of trigger foods and you're not getting a lot of the trigger foods that trigger symptoms and signs in you from underlying conditions you haven't addressed, but I'm talking about glycogen. I'm talking about muscle liver glycogen stores about 3 grams for every 1 gram you store. So let's say your body, by the way, the more muscle you have, the more glycogen you store, which gives you a higher cap to store more fluid and a higher reserve for glycogen, which is stored sugar. It's just a bunch of monosaccharides joined together. So you're gonna store, I can manipulate half a kilo up to a kilo of water, 1.5 kilos of water even, for a couple of pounds, guys, just if I jack up or jack down glucose intake. Why isn't this being acknowledged? It could be any number of these things. And also, what are we doing only weighing you once a week? You want to get the average. Let's say you're high that week, but what if you were high on that day, but you were lower on all the other days? Well, your average is lower than whatever it was, 220. And that's good, you went down. But because you weighed only on one day, you only got one isolated figure that can be influenced by a handful of covariates. It's just, you do a study, imagine like you're doing a study on yourself and you want to control for covariates, for other variables that can decrease the quality and validity of the results that you're getting. So this is like basic stuff that I think a lot of people don't realize. Don't let the scale influence your mood, your self-esteem. That number does not define you. That number is transient. That number can be influenced by so many things that I just mentioned. And it's one day. You need to take averages and then look at how the averages go up or down per week. That is your answer to whether the shit you're doing is working or not. Not stepping on the scale once